Hi everyone! Emily Wong here again with Madelaine, Shaw-Wong, and Madelaine. Welcome back to Writing Powerful Stories. Today I'd like to talk to you about different points of view. The POV is the filter through which you tell your story. Think about who is telling the story. You don't want to get it wrong, because if you do, your entire story is damaged. You will lose reader suspension of disbelief. I'm going to tell you about the major points of view and how not to make easily avoidable mistakes. First person point of view. The narrator is in the story and relating the events as they experience them. You would use words like I, me, we, and us. First person is interesting. All the events are filtered through the eyes of the narrator, and we hear the story in their voice. So naturally, it's also biased. That's the reason why it's so enjoyable, because we clearly see the character's personality and their perspective on the world. First person is also limiting. The narrator can't be everywhere at once or know what any of the other characters are thinking. A mistake that people make in first person is they spend too much time inside the character's head. You don't need to always explain what your character is thinking. This is an example of telling and not showing. Show the reader through the character's actions. In a previous video, I talked about leaps and gaps, where you purposely leave things out, so the reader can figure things out on their own. This is a situation where you could leave out the character's thoughts. Second person point of view. This is probably the least common point of view in fiction, but it is used in nonfiction and in song lyrics. The narrator tells a story through a character called you. You become the protagonist, and you carry the plot. A danger of this point of view is it's also a little tiresome for a reader to hear you do this, you did that. It may work well with short stories, but not for a novel, though of course there are exceptions. Go ahead and experiment with it. It'll stretch your skills as a writer, if nothing else. Third person point of view. Third person point of view uses words like they, his, or her. The narrator is outside of the story and relating the events of the story. The central character is not the narrator. In fact, the narrator is not in the story at all. You can tell a story in third person in several ways. Omniscient, you are godlike. You have full access to all thoughts and experiences of the characters in the stories. This is a hard point of view to keep up because readers sometimes find it hard to follow. You also run the danger of head hopping. This is the biggest mistake that a lot of beginning writers make. They switch point of view characters too quickly or dive into the heads of too many characters at once. This jars the reader and breaks the intimacy they feel with the story's main character. One way to avoid this is to only go into one character's thoughts per scene or per chapter. Another method you can use is limited omniscient. The narrator has only some access to thoughts and experience, usually just one character. This often works better because most people can't handle full omniscience, knowing all the thoughts and feelings of all the characters. The opposite of omniscience is objective point of view. This is not having access to anyone's thoughts, like watching a scene through a camera. The problem with this is that it's not very personal. It's harder for readers to feel close to the characters. So, the most important thing you must consider is how omniscient are you going to be? How often will you read your character's thoughts? How deep will you delve into their emotions? Here's an important point to remember. Pick a point of view and stick with it. Avoid jumping from first person to third or from limited omniscience to full omniscience. Establish your point of view within the first paragraph and stay there. Sudden shifts will ruin your story. Thanks for watching! Watch our other videos to learn more great tips on writing powerful stories. Like, share, follow, and comment. Have a look at Madelaine's website, madelinewong.com, or follow her on Facebook, facebook.com/fictionlady. Bye!